just a new Bikkurim in progress. We have Aleph Hay. Reb Eliezer ben Yaakov says, a woman who is the daughter of a proselyte may not marry into the priesthood unless her mother is an Israelite, whether proselyte or freed bondsman, even to the 10th generation, unless their mother is an Israelite. An administrator, an agent, a bondsman, a woman, a tumtum, and androgynous may bring, but do not recite, because they cannot say, which you have given me, O Lord. Um, he who buys two trees in his fellows brings but does not recite. Reb Meir says he brings and recites. If the well dried up, the tree was cut down, he brings but does not recite. Reb Yehuda says he brings and recites. From Shavuos to Sukkot, he brings and recites. From Sukkot to Chanukah, he brings but does not recite. And Reb Yehuda ben Betera says he brings and recites. If he set aside his Bikkurim and sold his field, he brings but does not recite, and the other from the same kind he does not bring, but from another kind he brings and recites. Rabbi Yehuda says from this same kind he also brings and recites. Okay. Good.
Okay. Here fresh Bikurav. If a person separated his Bikurim, the Nivzazu, and they were plundered, they were stolen from him, or Namaku, or they went rotten, they nignavu, or they were stolen, avdu, or they were lost, or shinitma'u, or they became tame. For that, they would have to become wet as well, of course. I just had to insert that because now we know, having done all those halachas, you know that produce can't become tame until it becomes wet.
Right.
Okay, maybe acherim tachtehem ve'enu koreh. Then he can go back to his orchard and get more bikurim to replace the ones that went rotten, but he cannot recite the declaration anymore. Why can't he recite the declaration anymore? Because he can't say that it's the first fruits anymore. Okay, and furthermore, the second ones, if he accidentally eats them, there's no chiyuv of chomesh like there would be with the first ones, because the first ones are the real bikurim, and these ones are just like voluntary bikurim that he's bringing now. If they became tameh in the azara, nofetz ve'eno koreh, then he has to nofetz, he has to pour them out. That's right. He has to scatter them. He empties the basket, and he doesn't have to replace it because he actually did bring it to the temple, and it's no longer it's no longer his achrayus if this happens to him already in the temple. So he can, but then he still can't recite the declaration because he didn't actually succeed in giving it to the Kohen.
It became unclean by nothing that he did. It was something that just something.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how they became tame. They became tame. They're tame. It's
okay.
Okay. Mishna tes uminayin shehu chayav b'achrayosan ad sheyavi laharabais. And how do we know that he is responsible for the fruit? In other words, if he loses them, he has to bring more. Right. So I said wrong. Earlier I said that it's a voluntary thing. It's not voluntary. If he loses the bikurim, he does have to replace them, and they're under his achrayos, and that's what this mission is talking about. That he has an achrayos to bring the bikurim. Ad sheyavi laharabais. Shneimar reishis bikurei ad maschat tavi beis Hashem elokecha. It says that the first fruits from your land you have to bring to the house of Hashem your God. And this teaches us that he has an achrayus on them until they reach Harabayis. So now, if somebody has two different species that grew in his property, so he brings the grapes and he says the declaration. He says, "Oh, I forgot to bring the pomegranates." Okay. So now he has to he goes back and brings it, but he doesn't recite the second declaration. Why doesn't he recite the second declaration? According to Yerushalmi, our Mishnah is teaching us that even Rabbi Yehuda, who disagrees with the Tanakama in Mishnah Zion above, right? What was in Mishnah Zion was talking about when you're bringing. Just to remind you, we just read it now. If somebody somebody sold his property to somebody else, then the second guy also brings Bikkurim, and so the Sheni, what does it say? May also mean Eno maybe. So the Chachamim say he doesn't bring because the first guy who sold him the property has already brought Bikkurim from these fruits. So the second guy's pater altogether. And Rabbi Yehuda says no. The buyer must also bring and recite. But in this case over here, where the same person has brought one set of fruits and made a declaration, he can't. He now does not make the declaration over the second set of fruits, even according to Rabbi Yehuda.
It has to be his own field then. I mean,
Yes, that's absolutely. That's like the first Mishnah is that it's got to be his own property.
Right. So if someone just comes in and well, he could buy I could buy the property from the other person. If you own the property and you brought that fruit, then I came along and said, oh, I want to buy your property. Right? I can buy it, but then I can take the fruit now that it's mine, or I can't.
Sorry, just if you've purchased the property, including the trees, then of course it's yours.
But the other person already brought the fruit and recited.
Yeah.
So now that it's mine, I could bring it.
So that's according to Rabbi Yehuda. According to Chachamim, if the person I bought the orchard from has already brought Bikkurim from the fruit in that orchard, then I don't bring, even though the fruit is all mine now.
Right. Okay.
Okay. And says Mishnah Yud, Ve'elu Mevin Bikkurim. These are the people who bring the Bikkurim and they recite the Vidoy Masros. Okay, and that's like most cases.
Right.
Okay, but there's going to be some Mina Atzeres Adachag. So it's in the period between Shavuos and Sukkot. You can that's when you can bring the Bikkurim. Mishivas Hamenim. It's got to be from the 7 species. Miperos Shebaharim, from the high quality fruit that's in the hills. Mitamara Shiva Amakim, or from the dates that are in the valleys.
Right.
Mizeis Shemen, and from oil olives. Me'ever Hayardain, even from Me'ever Hayardain or Me'ever La Yardain. Even the Paris of the other side of the Yardain you bring as Bikkurim, because that's also part of the land that Hashem swore to our forefathers. And so you might think, okay, it's out of main of Eretz Yisrael. Shate was ever then maybe Shisham because those are some of the best olives grow on the other side of the Yarden. But I assume this is the part that was given to Reuven, Gad, and Menashe, and Chatzi Menashe.
Right.
So it's still part of biblical Eretz Yisrael. Okay. Rabbi Yossi Aglili Omer ein mevin bikurim me'ever Yarden she'eina eretz esavas chalav udvash. But Rabbi Yossi Aglili disagrees and says that if it's outside of the land that we call eretz esavas chalav udvash, then it's not brought as bikurim.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. Are you gonna ready to go? You're going to.
You want to do three chazaras and then I'll go.
Okay. So we're going back to. By the way, let me ask you before I turn the page here. When will be our first class? When are you coming back?
I will be back. I'm arriving back on the 5th of August. So I guess probably on Friday the 6th.
You'd be okay for Friday?
We'll see.
I mean, all right. I just wanted that. So the 6th. Okay. Okay. Got it.
Okay. So we're on.
We're on Euler base Zion.
Order base Yud.
Yud. I moved the stupid thing.
Okay. Yeah, because we didn't do all the chazaras together yesterday.
That's right. All right. Okay. Base Yud. Okay. Condiments of 2 or 3 categories of one kind or 3 are forbidden and combined. Reb Shimon says 2 or 3 categories of one kind or 2 kinds of one category do not combine. And if leaven of chulin and of truma fell into dough, and neither this nor and neither this sufficed to leaven or that sufficed to leaven, but together they leaven, Reb Eliezer says, I go after the last. But come and say whether the forbidden fell in first or last, it never renders forbidden unless it suffices to leaven. Yotze Bira was one of the disciples of Beit Shammai, and he said, I asked Rabbi Gamaliel the elder when he was standing in the eastern gate, and he said it never renders forbidden unless it suffices to leaven. Okay.
Okay, let's leave it at that.
All right. Okay.
Okay.